Hello everyone and welcome back to Timberborn! This is episode 30 on the road to 1000 beavers. This will be the final episode of the series since as you can see we are just around 870 beavers and we've made some massive pushes in the last couple episodes. I think today we can get another 100 beds set up. Along with those 37 unoccupied beds we can get to that 1000 mark. In the last episode we worked on this massive power system upgrade, so now we've connected this set of water pumps that are pumping water up into these 3 tiers of this new reservoir, and that is now connected to the rest of our power grid. Although this power grid is actually separate from the one that we have over here. And this is our bigger system. It goes underground, there's some water wheels, more water wheels over here, and then all the way to our 4th district. So today we're going to look at connecting in this system to the one over here. And this is going to be another massive push in order to get this all constructed. I'm thinking the best way to start that is to start from these water wheels right here. We can go around the top of the helix and then we can cut across to either connect into the water wheels over here or most likely the carousels in this area. We are going to start by digging down and then we can go underneath the bad water diversion area, underneath our river, and then we can pop up right over here. But we'll need to utilize a bunch of spiral staircases in order to get down. So we'll need to make a little bit of a grid in order to get down, and we can start with some treble dynamite over there and then do the same over here. And in one of the recent episodes we also set up our underwater farm. We have the grilled spatter dock, or just the regular spatter dock I should say, and then we also have some cattails over here. And they've actually been picking pretty much everything. We did set up a couple grist mills, but I believe that we have both of these set to wheat flour. So we need to move one of them to cattail flour, and then we also need to get a bakery set up. And then we also have no storage for the cattail flour. Although I could have sworn that we made some bakeries somewhere. We don't have any over here. We have a couple of grills, and these guys are both set to spatter dock, but they clearly don't have enough at the moment. But I thought we had some bakeries somewhere. Looks like we have 3 of them that are all set to maple pastries, and then 1 of them set to cattail crackers. So we can move 1 more over to cattail crackers, and then we can also set up some more storage. We can utilize the medium warehouse. Then we can have some cattail flour, cattail crackers, and maple pastries stored over here. And then in our Beaverland Hills district, we're actually running a bit short on grilled spatter dock. We only have 30 at the moment, and even with all of this, it's not quite enough. We can look at expanding our farm a little bit. We can go a little bit over here, but we don't have a whole lot of real estate. Alternatively, we could also look at expanding it with some terrain blocks. If we set it up like this, it'll give us a lot more space to plant some spatter dock. We'll just need to make sure that we have enough water that can make it over here. But we have this fluid dump and then this one right here that feeds underground into this section. So I'm hoping that those 2 will be able to handle it. So we have some of the infrastructure set up. We need to keep going down in elevation. And it seems we're actually on the bottom of the map, so I won't be able to place any more dynamite. But we're going to assume that we can go straight across from here. I don't think that it should be an issue. We're going to be close, but I think we have a little bit of headroom. And then as long as we start getting some spiral staircases set up, we'll be able to make it down here no problem. And we do have a bad tide approaching in 2 days. We are on cycle 34. We have gone through so many cycles so far. And it's all led to this. We're just about at 900 beavers. But we need to add some more beds. And I think the best way that we can do that is by establishing another colony. We'll also need to add some houses to some of the existing districts. But what I'm thinking is getting another colony set up right over here. It's pretty close to some of our other ones. But before we do that, I want to get some more green space. And so we have the beavers in this section. We're going to have them plant a bunch of dynamite in this area. It will blast away part of this riverbed. And then the water will flow over here. We will dam this up a little bit. And then we're just going to have a permanent green space right here. First, we need to get the transportation infrastructure in place. So we're definitely going to be taking advantage of the zip lines. And then we can start placing down some double dynamite along the way. We also need to make sure we have paths so they can actually reach all this. And then we'll have a few zipline stations periodically along here. That way they don't have to walk forever to get to everything. It just makes it a bit more efficient overall. We're going to wait to detonate everything over here until we've placed the dynamite going in this direction. And then we'll have it dammed up on this side. We can get some water pumps set up. And then we'll probably have a farm in this section. Although we might not actually have to go up quite this far, since the water elevation is only at this tile. So we don't even need to go 2 tiles up, as long as it's at this level, which is 1 below here. Which means we might not even need any of these barricades. Yeah, we actually don't need any of these levees. We can remove all of them. And that's going to save us on some construction costs. Although we do need to make sure we have paths so that we can actually reach all of these zipline stations. and then we can just zigzag our way with the path in this area. Then the beavers should find the most efficient route to place all the dynamite down. So we're placing down a lot of dynamite. If we can take advantage of some of the other districts, that would be fantastic. The builders in this district aren't doing anything, although I don't think they can get very close. Is this from our main district? Maybe it makes sense to utilize the Flattail Hills beavers. In fact, I think they're already starting on it. So if we get a couple of zipline stations, then it'll make it so it's easier for the Flattail Hills beavers to reach some of this dynamite. They don't have quite as much. They have about 230 here, and then they have 300 extract, so they'll be able to contribute from this side. The Twigtop Ridge beavers will work in this direction, so we'll just leave them to that and then go focus on our power system again. And then I don't think they'll be able to reach all of this, but if we just place a couple dirt blocks, then I think that should get them close enough to make that, because they can walk right across and then build these last few going up. And now we have all this dynamite placed down. We can detonate all of it. Hopefully no beavers hop in the way. And at this point it's starting to get a little bit more laggy. We're at 900 beavers. I'm only on 2x speed. I'm not even at triple speed. But I don't know if the game can quite handle what we're doing. So hopefully the game can handle just a little bit more. We're not going to be adding in any more water wheels, because I think that just might break the game. They have finished placing the power shafts, so now we can start tunneling in this direction. We'll have a 2x2 grid, and that way we'll have a path on one side and we can put the power shafts on the other. And then if we continue going in this direction, we're going to be pretty darn close to this hole, so we'll go down and we are basically next to it now. And then even with the zip lines going to this hole, it really is a decent distance from the district center. So one thing that we should look at is getting some storage set up right along this area. We'll have a couple piles. One will be set to planks, one will be set to logs, and then we'll make sure both of them are set to obtain and prioritized by haulers. And then we can duplicate each of them. This will make the construction of the power shafts and the tunnels go a lot quicker. And the Beaverland Hills beavers are making good progress. We can now start setting up some power shafts, and they'll periodically have to go down here in order to extend the path, otherwise they can only reach 10 tiles from that nearest path. And it's going to be quite a ways to get over here. We also need to go back to the surface and then figure out how we want to get power over to this hole. We have the water wheels right here. I'm pretty inclined to just stick them in the river. You'll be able to see them a little bit, but it won't be too visible. Although let's make it a little bit more obvious. We can use the vertical power shafts since resources are not a concern for us at this point. And then we're just going to zigzag our way with these overhangs. This is definitely not the most efficient route, but that is okay. So we have all the power shafts laid out now. We're in the process of constructing the overhangs. And then once they get all the overhangs, I made it so that they will have access to walk on top of all the power shafts. But no beavers should be able to get directly on top of the overhangs. And that should prevent any beavers from getting trapped on top of the platforms. We also have a good amount of gears that we'll be using, so we're going to emulate these storages, although we'll have it set to the warehouses instead. And then we can also start on the spiral staircases going down. We have to go quite a ways for us to actually get all the way to the bottom, and that worked out perfectly. We can make it all the way down with several sets of spiral staircases, and then I just need to make sure that we have the power shafts on the correct side. So I have the stairs right here. We can shift it over to the other side if we need to. Then taking a look at our power shafts in this area, we need to extend the path once again, but we'll have the power shafts on the outside, so going along in this direction, we actually do need to move this over one, but that'll be easy enough. We can just set those spiral staircases to move it over one tile, and then we can start the process of connecting everything in, although the paths will not be able to touch because they're in different districts. And they have placed all the dynamite down except for a few pieces. It looks like they're working on the last bits. But running the entire length of the river, we have a sea of dynamite. I'm going to wait until the bad tide is over, because we do have some water in this section, and I don't really want to spread it out because that'll make evaporation go a little bit faster. We have a lot of beavers who are sitting around in these builders' huts. Let's take a look at how many unemployed beavers we have. There are 27 in this district. We can replace a couple of these builders' huts and then put some hauling posts down instead, and they'll set all of them to 10 beavers, but super low priority. Copy settings, and then apply it to all 4. It looks like our expanded reservoir is working out really well. We were able to fill this up during the wet season, and then now it's slowly being drained out, which is helping this sluice work because this is set to open and close depending on the downstream water depth, and that feeds this whole section. Part of that is our water crops, and then we also have some more crops over here. And then I'm taking a look at some of our other districts. Our main district of Bavaria has 1.6 thousand maple syrup, but I'm not actually seeing any maple pastries. We also have a good amount of wheat, and then we also have a lot of wheat flour, but I'm thinking that we actually aren't making any maple pastries in this district at all. So let's add a few right along here. In fact, it'll probably be a little bit easier to have it closer to one of the zipline stations. In order to make those maple pastries, it requires wheat flour, maple syrup, and just a little bit of logs. What we can also do is get some storages and then do what we've done before. Have some of the ingredients shipped right over to here from the haulers. And then we're finally starting to have some books. We have about 1,000 at the moment. We added in a printing press right here, and then we added another one down below. So I think between those and then having them run by bots, it's making it a lot more efficient. So now we can actually get some stored up. Looks like the power shafts are all connected in, so it terminates right here. We can remove these stairs, and now we can remove all these paths, which will help reduce the lag just a little bit. The beavers are actually getting pretty close to connecting everything in. We probably have just another 20 or so tunnels that we need to construct, and they should be able to connect everything together. We also need to go up vertically so that we can connect these power shafts in, so we can start the long journey up with these vertical power shafts. And now that I think about it, if we detonated all of this, we still have a few pieces of dynamite right here that would block the water. So we can detonate this before the bad tide ends. I'll wait until the daytime, but I'm going to have to move it to 1x speed because I don't think that the game would like it if we did this on double or triple speed. We can start at the far end and I'll detonate it and I'll speed it up for you guys. For me, it's going to be pretty slow. Probably took a minute and a half for me to watch the entire thing. Although in the meantime, before we get the water set through here, we can start getting the district set up. We have all the zipline stations that we need. The next thing is just to get the district crossings. We can do a little bit of rearranging. Once we get this constructed, we'll add in another zipline station, and then we can swap it so we have this one connected to this. Oh, we can just have both of them. That's cool. We can remove the connection from this zipline station to the one on the right, and then this will be the district crossing leading into our new district. We're going to call this district the Green Valley District. We'll see how much green space actually comes from here, since the water is going to be 3 tiles lower, which makes me think we won't have as much green space as I was originally hoping. And the bedhead has just ended. We're on cycle 35, day 1. We can also take advantage of the zip lines, and if we connect this in, it won't let us because they're in different districts. But if we sever this path and then set up another district crossing, in fact we could set up 2 district crossings right over here. We'll have this district crossing go to our main Beaverland Hills district, and then this one, if I can place it. Oh, but I can't because of these zip lines. We can shift the path over just a little bit, and then that makes it so we can actually connect everything in. I guess not. We might need to, maybe if we get some dynamite placed down. Oh, they won't even let us place dynamite. I guess we're not doing this crossing right here. We can go underneath. If we temporarily sever this connection, then we can lower everything, and then I think that should solve the issue. Okay, so now this one's freaking out a little bit. We can remove this connection, which means we need to add our district center. Now we have our 6th district. We can rename that to, I think it was the Green Valley District. If it wasn't, that's what it's going to be now. And then we need to get some of the essentials set up for the beavers. Let's get some basic storage constructed. And thankfully we can utilize the beavers of the adjacent district to actually construct all these buildings. We need to make sure we actually set them to the appropriate materials. And then we need to focus on housing. We can move this a little bit closer to the district center. And now we can finally transfer some beavers to this district. Now we just need to figure out where we want to send the beavers from. If we go to the Migrate Population tool, the District of Bavaria has a lot of beavers. We have 230. Let's send 20 over from them, a couple kits, and then from our Twigtop Ridge district we can send another 10. Let's go another 20. We'll need to construct a few more houses because this won't be enough to house all the beavers. We have plenty of real estate that we can set that up. We will want to set up some more of the builders huts. We can bump up all the beavers in the district crossing for now. We'll want to bump this up as well. And then I did prioritize constructing these builders huts. That way these unemployed beavers can start working on stuff. We can also set up some lumberjack flags, help chop these trees down. So we have a few things set up for the beavers. We have this large water pump. They're going to work on it as they can. It does require treated planks, so we do need to add at least a small storage area for those. And then they're slowly constructing these builders huts, which will make building everything go much faster since we'll have more workers that can work in those jobs. And then if we go back to our power grid, we have to go underground. I suspect the tunnels have connected in. We just need to set those power shafts up. And look at that. We can get the paths extended a little bit. We won't be able to connect them because they got to be separated. We can get those power shafts set up now. And then we have this set of power shafts rotating and this one as well. So as soon as those are connected in, we're going to have one massive power system. These gravity batteries are still maxed out, and that is because we had a bad tide and not a drought for the last event. So we had these water wheels, and then all these ones continue to spin. These gravity batteries are also maxed out. Seems like we had a good amount of power production in this side, and I can see the water has returned, so it's time for us to detonate all this dynamite, and let's see how much green space we actually end up getting. Looks like they're making great progress getting those houses built. We are still going to have a few homeless beavers, so let's get ready to construct some more houses, and they actually chopped the trees down immediately, so this guy does not need to be here. We can utilize the bridge. If we set up a bridge right here, we can reach the other side. Then that will give us access to some more trees. And unfortunately, the green valley is not that green. The water elevation just isn't quite enough. We could always shift this over just a little bit if we have that go right along here. And then we let the water back up. We could go up one more tile, which means we would need to construct some levees, but that should not be a big investment. Ooh, I don't know why we have it set up like this. I guess I forgot to connect these in. So we can't have it because the districts are connected. And it's this path right here. If we remove this whole thing, and this will not be connected to anything, we can add in that one more connection. And now we can fit a district crossing underneath since we removed the dynamite. So we have our second set of floodgates right here, which will make these ones kind of obsolete. Once we get those constructed, then all the way at the end, we'll be able to bump our water elevation up one entire tile, and I'm hoping that should help with this green space. And then we also have a bunch of dynamite over here. We have just a couple more pieces we need to place down. And then with this depth being able to reach 4, we'll have access to a little bit more water down below. We are now at 942 beavers. We're going to be adding in some more houses in this district, but I think we need to add some more in some of the other districts as well. I feel sorry for the poor beavers who are going to be living underneath these carousels. If you had to hear this music all day and night, that might be a little nuts. The water is starting to flow exclusively in this direction because they finished these floodgates. And then if we go all the way to the end, we have one more building that we need to construct. We can super high prioritize that. But as soon as that is done, that'll give us access to a lot more water. And then they also built these houses. We can remove this small pile from here. And then we can continue setting up houses throughout the rest of the districts. So I'll be back in just a second after I do that. So now it's just a waiting game. We have 61 vacant beds. We have 955 beavers. So in the next few days, hopefully we'll have a few more kits that are born and they'll hit that 1,000 mark. And it also looks like Green Valley is actually coming to life. We have the water that's backed up over in this section, and then it should start flowing through here at any point. In the meantime, we can plant some crops and some trees, help liven this place up a little bit. Hopping back over to our power grid, let's take a look underground and see if everything's connected in. If we go all along, you can see everything except the path is set up, but it looks like we have one massive grid now. So let's take a look at how much power we have in the entire system. We're currently at 26,000 HP. I think at one point in this district we had 10,000 HP, so we've more than doubled that. And then our gravity batteries are completely maxed out. We only need about half of the power that we're producing. So at this point, it seems like our grid is pretty stable now. But we're also coming to a close. We have 996 beavers, 29 vacant beds, so tomorrow night, probably when our 1,000th beaver is going to be born. And nighttime has rolled around. We're at 996 beavers, and we're starting to go up. I think that was, where is it? Eurovex is quite the name, but we now have 1.0k beavers. So 1,015, we hit that 1,000 mark. And it's either between this or Rigger Ridge. One of these two series has been the one where I had the most episodes. This one has run for the longest in terms of in real life. I started this series last spring, so it's probably close to 9 months at this point. But we have our 6th and final district that is well established now. We're planting some food. We have access to multiple different districts for the district crossings. We have a lot that we've done in this world. You can see that we've touched pretty much every corner of the map at this point. Some of the main things that stand out in our skyline is Tutten in the very middle where the top of the helix is. We have our wonder that we constructed several episodes ago. And then we also have our massive power connection area. We have 2 massive reservoirs. This one was definitely one of my favorites. We were able to take advantage of some of the new features that Timberborn had introduced at the time. Having the sluice let water go through here allowed us to access more than just the depth of these water pumpers. And then we have pretty much maxed out all of our resources at this point. We have trees in almost every district. Some of these forests are actually pretty much maxed out. And then we got power under control finally near the end, connecting everything together, adding in a bunch of water wheels. Then we also have a bunch of windmills in here. And that is where we're going to wrap up today's episode and this video series. I hope that you all enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to work on. It was a pretty large scale operation. In my latest video series, we're starting from scratch. The next episode will be episode 3 of the Spillage series. So if you haven't already, be sure to check that out. And then also check out some of the live streams that happen on Saturdays. Those have been a ton of fun. We have some great folks who join. And if you can't check it out live, you can always check it out on my YouTube channel under the live section, where you can see the replays of those live streams. So if you enjoyed today's video, please hit that like button. It really does mean a lot to me and it helps the channel out tremendously. And with that, we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.